Howdy, 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 this is Ryan Acidheads Murphy coming to you with another edition of Smarking Off, where we talk about various pro wrestling topics. And in this one, I am going to stir up the hornet's nest. I am going to throw a rock at the pot. I'm going to say that pro wrestling is better than MMA. Now, if you are a fan of MMA and you enjoy it, that's fine. I'm mostly addressing that rather special individual, the MMA bro, the marks, the fanboys of MMA, that feel a need to go around bashing pro wrestling or anything else that isn't MMA just because it isn't MMA. Because they have developed a pathetic emotional investment, an ego investment into MMA that makes it part of their identity, and the only way that they can support and boost their pathetic egos is by bashing anything that isn't MMA. Okay, so you know who I'm talking about. But why is MMA not as good as pro wrestling? Why is pro wrestling better than MMA? Okay, well, let's go into some history. For one thing, MMA would not exist without pro wrestling. It was really, the seeds of it were planted by Antonio Inoki, pro wrestler who would go around challenging various martial artists and individual boxers and people, Muhammad Ali most notably, people all over the world. There were some smatterings of it with Bruce Lee, of course, and Jeet Kune Do, the idea of adopting whatever worked best for you into your own personal style. But the idea of mixed martial arts came about mostly because of Antonio Inoki going around and challenging all kinds of people. And how many of his encounters were shoots and how many were works, nobody really knows. The only one who could tell you that for sure would have been the people who were involved, and I doubt they're going to talk about it. But still, that was where the seed of MMA was planted, by a pro wrestler. So, number one reason pro wrestling is better than MMA is because MMA simply would not exist without pro wrestling. And it actually goes deeper than that. Pro wrestling is where you have the meeting of various disciplines of all sorts of things, including various combat sports and exhibition things like martial arts. Before there was ever the idea of mixed martial arts, and even before Antonio Inoki, you would have pro wrestlers picking up things in other countries and bringing it back, or taking what they would be doing here to those other countries, and you would have that mixture of things going on. So again, if it wasn't for pro wrestling, MMA simply would not exist. Second reason, what people really want from sports in general, I always use the bunny ears sport, legit sports, people want some sort of drama. Now, they'll bullshit themselves into saying it's really about the competition or whatever, but what people really want is drama. The evidence for this is simple. How many games, or in the case of boxing and MMA, bouts have you ever watched and that were really memorable, that you really remember? Not very many. The ones that you really remember are the ones that were more like a movie. Because ultimately, that's what you want. You want that Rocky moment. You want the Mighty Ducks and Rudy and all the sports movies. Those are the moments that you really want to see happen in real life. But they don't happen very often. They hardly ever happen at all. Because sports are inherently random. Randomness is built into it. Take MMA, for example. Any asshole could walk in off the street and challenge an MMA guy, and there is a chance that with a wild swing could knock the fucker out. Is it likely to happen? No, but it could. because there is that inherent randomness. Okay? You could invest a huge amount of time, money, and effort to promote and build up an individual and have them lose. Boxing, MMA, a team. How much money is spent on sporting teams that do not win every year? People still enjoy to go see the games. They do have an enjoyment from watching, obviously, but they want to see them win. That's what's going to be the thing that they remember. You know, they want that major league thing moment. Again, or like the Mighty Ducks, the big comeback. The big underdog makes the comeback and wins in the end. Or tries their best and then fails spectacularly, loses. But people want drama. They want some form of drama. So, that is what pro wrestling gives you. That's why pro wrestling is what it is. It's a meeting ground of sport and drama, theater. Back in the day, because American pro wrestling got started in the 1800s, but around about the early 1900s, someone figured out that people enjoyed it more when it was more dramatic. They enjoyed it more when there was someone, the two guys in the ring, was one of them that the audience didn't like, and the other one was somebody the audience did like. More people came, they enjoyed it more, they got more out of it, and the promoters made more money. So they started arranging things to be more dramatic and more of a spectacle to give the audience what they wanted. See, saying that it's fixed is not the right sentiment, because when you say something fixed, it brings to mind things like fixing things for betting. That wasn't what happened with pro wrestling. What happened with pro wrestling is that they wanted to give the fans what they really wanted. They wanted to believe it was real, but still have the drama of fiction. And that is what pro wrestling gave people. And it still can. You just have to learn to suspend your disbelief. It isn't trying to trick you, it's trying to do the same thing any movie does. It wants to give you drama, but with the athleticism and everything else mixed in together. Now, what does this have to do with MMA? The problem, I kind of already touched on it. Any asshole off the street has a chance, even a slim chance, but still a chance, of beating even a champion. With just a random stroke of luck. And you see it in any matchup. I watched it for a while. It was Brock Lesnar against Randy Couture was when I finally just said, yeah, fuck this. Why? Because it was hyped up to the fucking heavens. It was the most hyped fucking thing of its time. On the scale of Rock versus Austin years earlier. That's how fucking hyped up this was. Brock Lesnar against Randy Couture. And it was over like that with a lucky stray fucking punch. And I saw that and it's like, yeah, this is just random. It doesn't matter how skilled either of these guys is. All it takes is a stray fucking punch and it's over. One slip. All it takes is that one guy didn't get enough sleep the night before. Or had something to eat that day that didn't agree with them and is putting them off their game just a little bit, just enough. And again, when it comes right down to it, any flabby motherfucker could walk in off the street, get lucky, and win a championship. It's a possibility. Not a probability, but again, a possibility. Because it is completely fucking random in the end. The only time skill really comes into play with something like MMA is when it's a disparity. When one person is so overskilled that they just wipe the other one out with no effort whatsoever. But even then, like I said, even if there is a huge disparity in skill, one person can get lucky. Because all it takes is that one straight punch. And you can try to bullshit yourself and say, oh, that's not true. But deep down inside, you know it fucking is. You know that it's absolutely 100% true. That if all somebody has to do is catch a punch at the wrong time in the wrong way, and it's over. It could fucking kill him, actually, but, that's not all that likely, but it could happen. So then you want to talk about some more things with MMA. You want to talk about MMA, they like to bring up, the bros like to bring up legitimacy. Well, how much legitimacy is there really in MMA? Think about it. In boxing, it's true of both. See, in team sports, there are standards for who gets to go for the championships. When the two teams head towards the Super Bowl face-off, it's because of their win-loss records and the points that they've gotten over the course of the season. Same is true of all team sports. There is standardization for who gets to go for the championship at the end. Boxing and MMA, there's no standard. Anybody can get a title shot. You know who gets the title shots? The most interesting person, just like in pro wrestling. Okay, there's no legitimacy in that. You cannot make any argument for MMA being legitimate when somebody can work their ass off, win every single fucking fight they're in, and yet get passed over time and again by people who are more interesting. Because the person who wins consistently may win, but say they're boring. They win because they're very stable in the ring. Let's phrase it that way. But some loudmouth, charismatic, flashy fucker will always get the title shot over the stable, tried and true guy or girl. I read a blog article. It was by a guy who's been in MMA when he wrote it around 10 years, and he talks about a lot of this stuff. He talks about how it isn't the women who deserve the best or who deserve title shots that get it. It's whoever looks the best. Whoever's the hottest and is going to sell is going to be the prettiest face to promote. That's who gets the title shot. Whoever is the biggest loudmouth, whoever's the most flashy, whoever's the most interesting is who gets a title shot in the men's division. And yes, even sometimes based on who's the best looking. Okay, people get the title shots based off of what the promotion is trying to promote. Like people from other countries. One of the examples the guy brought up was somebody from England. UFC at the time was trying to break into the English market, so guess who was getting the fucking title shots? A guy from England. They're trying to break into the Chinese market. Who was getting the fucking showcase? Chinese guy. Okay. You can find this blog post. It was... I was looking to see if there was any evidence that MMA was fixed. Because I wanted to see if there was actual proof that MMA is really no different than pro wrestling. It just hasn't been found out yet. They've still got kayfabe intact. Because I've listened to some pro wrestlers, old pro wrestlers, talk about MMA, and because back in the day, 50s, 60s, 70s, a lot of the pro wrestlers came out of college wrestling. High school and college wrestling, so they've actually done that shit. So it'd be like they'll be talk about watching MMA and say, yeah, these guys, they may not actually be planning stuff ahead of time, but they're still working together. Because there was always times during this matchup, this bout, that they could have done this, and they could have done that, and they could have done this, and this, and this. So, yeah. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, we know what you're up to, MMA. The old pro wrestlers say. And you know what? I have no reason to doubt them, but I was trying to find some evidence. But I found this article instead, and it was quite interesting because he actually talked about a time that he thought, and he had no proof, but, you know, watching this bout between George St. Pierre and somebody, as somebody that had been doing MMA for like 10 years, watching this bout between these two people, he felt that George St. Pierre was helping the other guy along to make him look good, and I think it was the British one that he talked about. He was trying to help that guy look good because the UFC was wanting to break into the English market, the British market. So again, you want to act like MMA's really any different to pro wrestling? It isn't. Even if they do not fix the outcomes of their matchups, the simple fact that who gets title shots is not based on work, but is actually based entirely on who's going to sell the most tickets, means that MMA has zero legitimacy. And boxing is no better, because it's been the same in boxing for a long, long time. Okay? So, what I'm saying here, I'm going to go back to the beginning because I'm pretty much wrapping up at this point, is that if you honestly just enjoy it for what it is, fine. Personally, I don't. I don't like randomness. I like storytelling. I like pro wrestling because they tell me a story. That's why I don't like sports in general, because, you know, there's never really much of a story to it. You know, and what story there is usually disappointing and boring. You know, that's the other thing about MMA that I don't like, to go back to the thing about randomness and what you really want from any kind of event, even, you know, sports and whatnot, is some sort of drama. How often in MMA does it just go to the judges? Be honest with yourself. Even if you are a huge MMA fan, be honest. Is that not disappointing if it goes to the judges? Sure, it's disappointing. You don't want it to go to the judges. You want to see a conclusion to that matchup. You want to see the two guys or two girls, ladies, women, femimals, whatever, the two individuals in the matchup, you want to see them finish it between themselves. You don't want to see it go to the judges. So be honest. Every time it goes to the judges, it's disappointing. Every time there is a knockout or a submission within the first round, it's disappointing. Yeah, there's a little excitement, but then at the end of the day, you know, can you honestly say that you've ever spent $50 or whatever on a pay-per-view for UFC, seen your main event that has been hyped all to hell in that way, and not thought, well, fuck. Deep down inside, you've got some buyer's remorse that you spent all that money on what turned out to be a flash, and it's over. It's like buying a really cool-looking firework for the 4th of July, and it turns out to be kind of a dud. One big flash, and it's over. It's disappointing. Be honest. It is disappointing. How many times do they end up hugging on the mats? Over and over again. Neither one of them has the capacity to actually put the other one away. So they just end up grappling around, hugging each other on the mats, till it goes to the judges. It happens all the time. How often do they just dance around each other, not engaging, and it goes to the judges? It happens all the time. How often do you go and you see these guys, they're supposed to be professionals, they're supposed to be trained, and they go at each other and they look like a couple of drunks at a fucking bar. And you just kind of have to hang your head and go, oh, God, this is embarrassing. It happens all the fucking time. So, yeah. All I want is a little honesty. Be honest that a lot of the time, most of the time, what you see in MMA is disappointing. Just be honest. That's all I'm asking for. Because it's true. If you still enjoy it, that's fine, but personally I don't. That's why I like pro wrestling. If I watch a pro wrestling show, I watch New Japan Pro Wrestling. I haven't watched WWE in over a decade. I watch New Japan because that's the style I enjoy. I like the ring action. I'm a ring action guy. But they tell me a good story in the ring. That's what they do. They're storytellers, and they tell me a story. And that's what I'm looking for. And they come through for me most of the time. There have been a couple of duds here and there where maybe things didn't play off as well as they could have, or maybe miscommunication and matches got a bit repetitive because the guys for some reason were doing a lot of the same stuff every match. It happens. But for the most part, New Japan is a style I like, and they tell me the kinds of stories I like to see in a pro wrestling ring. I'm very rarely disappointed with the product that they give me, that they present for me and everybody else, obviously. I don't think they just do it for me. They don't care about me. I'm just somebody who watches their show. I'm just saying, it's the sort of thing I enjoy. And if you enjoy MMA, that's fine. But any of those assholes that want to try to get up on some fucking high horse about how MMA is supposedly great and all the yada yada yippity yappity off at the mouth bullshit that they get on with, they're full of shit. If you're one of those people, you are full of shit. Okay? Pro wrestling is better than MMA and boxing and all other sports if what you really want is drama. And like I said, deep down inside, those big time dramatic moments are what everybody really wants from sports, which is why pro wrestling is better, because it gives you what you want. Without having to wait through season after season after season just to have it happen once in a blue moon. Once in a super blue moon. Because how often you have football games, American football games, how often you have proper football, aka soccer games, basketball games, baseball games, cricket matches, games, whatever. Name a sport. Pick a sport. Rugby. Doesn't matter what the sport is. In any given season, you will have way, way, way more forgettable games, and in boxing and MMA bouts, than you will have memorable ones. You could go an entire year without having a single thing in sports worth really remembering. But pro wrestling works to give you drama every single show. Which of course means that it isn't always all that memorable either, but that's the nature of the beast. You get used to something, then it is what it is. But the point is that at least on that night, I know I'm going to get a good story. I'm going to get that drama I'm looking for in the package of an athletic event. And that's why pro wrestling is better. I'm not trying to take anything away from you if you simply enjoy those other things. But if you're going to try to get up on some high horse and claim that your shit's better for yada yada yada, you're full of shit. Because everybody's entertained by different things, and sports are just entertainment. They don't mean anything except that they entertain. Okay? Alrighty then. So, thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Oh yeah, and I'm sure lots of you will dislike, but for those of you who are getting what I'm saying and understand where I'm coming from and what I'm talking about, don't forget to leave a like, share the video, subscribe so you know when new stuff comes up, And if you disagree with me, feel free to leave a comment and dislike. I probably will just ignore you, but you never know. I will possibly pull out my logic hat, my debate tactics championship sunglasses that don't actually exist because I'm just making this shit up now, and I will curb stomp your ass. Because I'm good at it. I've argued with a lot of fanboys over a lot of fucking things, and they never beat me. Because they can't. So, yeah. I've thought about doing a series about that, and I probably will eventually, when I get around to it, about logic and debate and arguing with idiots online. So, maybe some other time. But anyway, all that good YouTube nonsense. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.